Enter, stranger.
Ultron, defender of the universe. By the power of Grayskull.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another Back to the 80s podcast video with myself, Dreadwind. The question was asked on the podcast this Sunday, or rather last Sunday, name your top 5 vehicles from the 1980s. And they don't have to be just from cartoons, they can be from live action TV shows, movies, anything like that. So yeah, let's start at the start. My number 5 is General Lee from the Dukes of Hazzard. Damn iconic car. I believe it's a 1969 Dodge Charger. Red, loud, handles like a cruise ship apparently. It's a very heavy and not very manoeuvrable car, as I believe Richard Hammond said when he reviewed one for Top Gear, or one very much like it anyway. Pretty iconic because of the show it was in, which was basically just cars driving about. I mean, it did have sort of like drama in it, but it was all about the cars, and that's why I liked it as a kid. Controversial choice because, you know, in recent years the Confederacy flag has been, people have said, oh, it's slightly racist. Back then I can honestly say I didn't think about that because I was a kid, I was only little, and I believe Rodimus Ascendant actually said on our podcast, Rodimus Ascendant being black, which he said himself, he doesn't find it racist in the slightest. So I suppose you could view it as racist in some corners, but that isn't why I like the car, obviously. It's just a fast car, and it's John Snyder, who, let's face it, is Superman's dad, so that makes it cool. Number 5, I'm going with KITT, the Night Industries 2000 of Knight Rider. It was just a cool car, especially. I said it on the podcast, it isn't especially astounding in any way except for one thing, and that is the red sensor light going back and forth on the front. This is cool, and the fact that it talked and was blatantly more intelligent than Michael Knight, even though it's the Hoff. You know, the Hoff is not exactly what you call a brain box, but I always liked KITT, not because of the car so much, but because of his personality. He was sarcastic and not especially pleasant to Michael a lot of the time, but because of that I loved him, because Michael Knight's a tit and really needs to get taken down a peg or 3. Number 3, I'm going to go with another early 80s TV series, and I'm going to go with Magnum's Ferrari, mainly because I had it as a kid. I had the little corgi or matchbox car of that, and I thought it was seriously the coolest car on the planet. I also liked TC's helicopter. I said this on the podcast as well. I liked TC's helicopter because it had that like black or dark brown coloration with the red stripe and the yellow stripe, and it was just a weird looking helicopter, and I really liked it. So definitely Magnum's car is ace. Number 2, Optimus Prime, his vehicle mode. I am more of a Decepticons fan than an Autobot fan. Always have been, always will be. But based purely on the fact that it is such a cultural 1980s icon, and that all kids of a certain age, all grown-ups now of a certain age, when they were kids, if they saw any kind of flat-nosed truck, now in Britain we didn't even get the tractor-trailer flat-nosed trucks that Optimus Prime was. We got, you know, British Leylands or DAFs or that kind of thing. We didn't get that type, but they look similar enough to me when I was a kid to say, that's Optimus Prime. And I think people of a certain age, they will remember when they did that. Some of them may even still do that. Obviously today, Optimus Prime, when kids think of him, they're going to think of the long-nosed version. But the short-nosed or the flat-nosed version of the truck will always be special and will always hold a special place in my heart. So definitely number 2, Optimus Prime. Number 1 It's not a HISS tank. Everybody thinks that it's going to be a HISS tank, I think. It's not. It is a Cobra vehicle, though. It is the Stun, which is the vehicle, the three-wheeler, with the driver in the middle and the two guys, two gunners, which split apart. The front of the vehicle splits apart and they can gun from side to side. It's that vehicle. It's ace. I love it. I love the madassery of it. It's so stupid and crazy, and it shouldn't work at all. In the 80s, obviously, there were lots of crazy, outlandish vehicles, but a lot of them tried to stick at least to real-world sensibilities. G.I. Joe never did that, and I kind of love it for it, because all the Cobra vehicles were completely and utterly batshit. They shouldn't work. The laws of physics maintain that they shouldn't actually work. But somehow, because of that, that makes them all the more cooler. And as we all know, Cobra had the coolest vehicles. Cobra Stun definitely for me is the best of the Cobra vehicles. Even though when the front of the vehicle splits apart, it leaves the driver completely exposed to any kind of weapons fire. I don't know, I kind of like the fact that it sort of says that, well, you know, you're expendable. I quite like Cobra for that. I shouldn't do, but there you go, I do. That is my list, that is my top 5. I shall be back next week with a top 5 80s bands. That is going to be a toughie. Until then, this is me, Dreadwind, saying good night and good mental health.